Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Alexis and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on two books. Those would be The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain, both of which by Ali Hazelwood. These both follow women in STEM or STEAM. For the sake of this video and to avoid confusion, I will be using STEM. STEM is short for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I personally am more in line with the STEAM aspect where A stands for art, but for the sake of this, I'm only going to refer to STEM. And essentially, these follow women in STEM and their love interests, having to navigate male dominated fields, etc. But before I get into these, I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about my backstory. So essentially in high school, I was part of First Robotics, which is a type of club that has different teams within various schools. So for example, in my high school, the First Robotics team had a safety group, the graphic design group that focused on the logo and t-shirt elements. And then the engineering people focused on the building of the robot. And, there's also programming involved. So IT people may also be within that. But I did go to a technical high school. So in hindsight, it did have people from various fields working together within the technical aspect. Personally, I felt like my experience, I didn't get the opportunity to really grow within that club. And also this is because of other curriculums other organizations I was a part of. I was very much into athletics and uh, honor society, things like that. So I didn't really put a lot of focus into First Robotics. So my experience is very different, but I can say it was certainly male dominated, mostly engineering and IT people, with the exception of some medical people. And I did not get to really grow within that club, whereas other organizations I was able to. But that's just based on my experience. I do appreciate what they stand for, and if you are able to dedicate your time into those type of clubs, or if you can encourage your youth to do so, those can be really helpful. And if you enjoyed the science fair, I know I did, I feel like you could possibly enjoy this as well. But with that being said, this book, The Love Hypothesis, is written in third person, features contemporary romance, like I said, STEM representation, fake dating trope, there's a one room trope, uh, long pining, and there's mention of loss of loved one, as well as workplace harassment. I will also say that I guess this one, so here's the thing. Both of these books I did enjoy for different reasons, but there are also things I did not like for different reasons. This one is written in third person perspective, which I don't have an issue with. I did appreciate the fake dating, and it was more so like our leading man was pining for our heroine, but she wasn't aware of that. She thought he was more of like a grump, and I wouldn't say sunshine, but more positive of the two. Like in this couple dynamic, she's definitely the sunshine and he's the grump. So, from my notes, just to give a little recap, because I did read this last month and I just wanted to share my thoughts still. The synopsis has it: in a twisted attempt to encourage her best friend to date the person she was seeing casually, Olive opts to kiss Dr. Adam Carlson in the hallway, knowing her friend would see and assume Adam was her new boyfriend. Later, they agree to fake date under the pretenses that it's for the sake of her friend, as well as Adam's department funding and taking root in that. In truth, he was pining for her since they first met, and right off the bat, I appreciated the beginning, but it didn't hold true throughout because right off the bat, you have Olive kissing Adam in the hallway, knowing that her best friend was within the vicinity and would see it happening. There was also the, flashback of them first meeting. I enjoyed that. There's applying of sunscreen, coffee meetings, being able to, find your place, or I guess making space for yourself, I should say, within groups that don't typically acknowledge people like you. And with that, I mean to say that in curriculums that, or in fields that are predominantly male, or, you know, just it can be very tiring trying to make space for yourself and proving your worth, or proving that you are worthy of having a seat at said table. I really enjoyed that aspect in here, but Olive does end up having to face harassment within her field because of that. People making assumptions because she is pretty, because she is young, because she is ambitious, that they assume she's willing to do anything, and that includes physical things, which is not the case. But they assume that she's desperate enough to do that, when in fact she's just so driven to the point of doing something she loves. She wants to be able to be successful within that. And that's why I enjoyed their relationship dynamic in here between Adam and Olive in here. The fake dating was also tying in for him to prove that, to his department, they needed to continue to offer funding for him because they were worried about him potentially finding work elsewhere, which is why they were blocking funding for his experiments or his own projects. So it does acknowledge that a little bit on his side, but for the most part, it does focus on Olive's experience within STEM, and then Adam being her support within that. And she does support him too, but for the most part, because he's already established and he is older, she faces more barriers than him, or things that are more, I guess, things that she would face as a woman that he may not even experience or be exposed to because he is already well established and he's a guy. So I love the acknowledgement of truth in here. Love on the Brain also does that, but differently. I love that Ali Hazelwood did mention, STEM within this, because that is something new to the genre of romance, or at least from what I've read so far. There hasn't been a mention of it. And I would also say that both of these books have rom-com, but with STEM. So if you enjoy something that's fluffy, that's light, that kind of dips into topics that are of discussion, but not getting too serious to the point where it could upset you. Like, of course, there are things that character goes through I still was upset about, but it's not like it put me in a rut. It was more so on the side of maybe it's Hallmark-esque, but with STEM. And this is not a knock on this book, nor is it a knock on Hallmark movies, because for me, there can be some epic Hallmark movies. Some do get a little corny, but there's one in particular that stays in my mind, and that is Lost Valentine. This had Betty White and Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. Love that movie. Stand by it. Best Hallmark movie to date. But maybe that's just me. And also, there is some Filipino representation in there. Very little. Very, very, very little. But I love it regardless. And time period, yes. But I digress. Anyways, this definitely has that rom-com aspect in here. But moving on. Next, I have Love on the Brain. This was published after The Love Hypothesis. It is written in first person perspective, only from the heroine's point of view, B. And this follows her romance with Levi. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Levi. So it is a contemporary romance, assumed hate to love. Of course, STEM representation, long pining, mention of past betrayal, but again, you have to read it to know what I'm talking about. So, B essentially learns that she has to co lead a career altering project with her enemy from grad school, and that would be Levi. Only more time with him shows that he's not so much an enemy to her at all. And some of my favorite moments included, their Twitter messaging. B does run this Marie Curie inspired Twitter blog, essentially drawing attention to the issues within STEM and, having to navigate that as a woman within a male dominated field. Again, this is where I think it worked better within the plot and made it more contemporary, more relevant. Whereas within the love hypothesis, it felt more, I guess, passive. But that could also go into the writing style because it was written in first person and we are seeing her experiences and reading it from her point of view, being able to understand it through her eyes. That worked in favor for this book. So that's why I say it depends on how it works for the plot in terms of the perspective and writing style. I also enjoyed their first day, or essentially B's first day within the organization, because Levi rescues her from something. Um, Also helping with getting work equipment. There's cemetery night out involved that sounds sketchy, but I swear it was kind of cute and funny. Um, Conference room, fainting, their first kiss, getting to meet Lily and Penny, defending the family, the twist, and the relevance of July 26th and the 5K. That's essentially what my favorite moments were. But like I said, I do wish this was dual perspective. How it turned out is fine. I love the suspenseful twist toward the end. I don't want to get into it too much because, again, if you plan on reading it, you don't want it spoiled for you. It made up for some of the dragging in the middle, and I feel like I only felt like it was dragging in the middle because we were only seeing B's perspective, and it was like her constantly feeling as if Levi didn't like her and he was forced within her proximity, and that he wasn't really someone who wanted to work with her, where in fact Levi was trying to uh, maintain his professionalism despite being in love with her the entire time. There's some of that going on, misunderstanding. In terms of the science representation in here, this was more into neuroscience, which has to do with the nervous system and brain activity, neurology, things like that. And part of me was intrigued because she is essentially, or they are essentially co leading a project for NASA and another organization that's within partnership for it. The name eludes me right now, but they're doing it for astronauts and wanting to improve or protect brain activity within space. And they have to be able to work together in order to figure it out because she is more understanding about the brain activity, whereas Levi, although he is working within the same field, he has his own specialties within that as well, which is why they have to work together. In that way, I guess it was kind of interesting, but also it's not something within science that I gravitate towards, so that may hinder experience for some people. As you can see, for both of these books, I did tab quite a bit, but the different colors for me mean like times when I thought it was a little questionable or going through something unfortunate for the characters, and then the pinks are more so the happy moments, and it's kind of breaking even for both of these, but I digress. Still, enjoyable experience. All in all, I gave both of these 4 out of 5 stars for different reasons. I didn't want to knock it any lower than that because in my book, um, 3 is considered average. Anything less than that, either it felt like a waste of time or it shouldn't have been written. But that's my opinion. Whereas 4 stars would be more like very good, above average, and then 5 stars is like mind blowing, epic. I wasn't expecting it. But for different reasons, it could have been the writing style or the fact that we didn't get a lot of, background for the male characters. That's why I gave both these 4 stars. Different reasons might appeal to different people. Some people thought they did end up feeling much the same. I can see how that can be perceived, but I disagree because this one, Love on the Brain, is more so B having to co lead within the same department as her love interest, thinking that he didn't like her because of past experiences. They have a history. Whereas Olive and Adam in this one, they didn't have a long term history. He was already established in the department, whereas she was entering grad school when they met. And then after that first meeting, they didn't really interact again until Olive randomly kisses him. And then from there, they're fake dating. So these, in my opinion, the situation is different, although they have some similar tropes. And they both have women in STEM, and of course, the guys are in STEM as well, but primarily focus on the heroines' point of view and their experiences having to navigate male dominated spaces. But yes, I enjoyed the attention to detail there. All in all, I do see myself picking up books by this author again. However, these ones in particular, if they ever become available on audiobook, I do think I will listen to them. But these copies, I am selling them on my Pango Books, so feel free to check my link down below. They may still be available. I do intend to eventually read Love Theoretically. This will be coming out sometime in 2023. If the date is already mentioned, I will caption that as well. This will be following another couple. I'm not sure who, but because of my enjoyment of these previous books and the STEM representation, I do want to continue that with Holly Hazelwood. But yeah, those would be all my thoughts on these. And let me know if you have any questions as well in the comments down below, or if you wish to discuss the books. I am perfectly fine with that as long as we are all respectful of each other's experiences. Of course, I know sometimes I may get too heated about certain things about books, and then other times maybe I am too lenient, but again, that is just my experience. So until next time, my name's Alexis. Happy reading and take care.